we're in a new like day and age where it's like the sky's the limit. The opportunity is like as big as you make it or as small as you make it. So don't allow things that was said to you growing up to shape your view on money now, because if you have limiting beliefs about money, it's going to give you a glass ceiling on how much you can earn in your career.
Absolutely. What's up, y'all? I'm Lauren.
And I'm Adrienne.
And this is the Two Mic, Two Glasses podcast, where two best friends discuss business ownership and life. What's up?
How was your week?
It's been good. I went to a conference. I went to the Scaling New Heights conference, which is for like accounting advisory services. And they have all these sessions and vendors and people. And it was a great conference, but it was a lot, girl. Like I had to recharge something serious. This was
just like a lot of networking.
Yeah, it was like 4 days. That's a pretty long conference. So, and it was like the last session probably ended at like 6:30. So it's just long days, but it was great. I got to meet some really cool people, and I think I learned a lot, like things that are able to help us in our, just on our business to be experts. If it didn't help, it validated that we were doing things right. And Michelle, the owner of Mitchell Consulting, did her first session there. So she was one of the presenters, which is a super cool honor.
That was her first time doing that at a conference.
Yeah, like being a presenter at a conference. So, it was really cool to be like, oh, like you're one of the people that we're like looking to, like at conferences, like sometimes the presenters just seem like kind of
they seem like they made
untouchable.
It. Yeah. Seem like they made it, but when you think about it, they're probably with their highs and lows.
So yeah. Yeah. So I think that was like a big accomplishment for her, but it's also like a cool thing for the business. And, we are offering new different services like, for operations and stuff. So it was just a really good event to meet new people. And it was a good week. It was a tiring week.
Yeah.
But it was a really good week. And, I wanted to kind of just be a shut-in I still want to be a shut-in.
Yeah. Every time I go to a conference, I need like a break, like in life. Like,
right. Like I don't want to
do nothing.
Don't want to talk to nobody. Yeah. I just want to. So I came home and watched Bridgerton, and that was great.
Yeah.
Because Penelope, girl. Penelope, girl.
I got some gripes about season 3. But
what gripes are to be had?
It just wasn't developed. The relationship between Colin and Penelope was not developed in the way.
Did you watch the first 2 seasons?
I did.
I disagree.
You were satisfied by their connection, like part 2, season 3?
Yes. First of all, the carriage ride. Ooh. I was like, where my husband at? Child. They had some good chemistry. You don't think so?
No, I think the chemistry was good. I just think that the writers could have done better. I think that they didn't really show them like in love enough. They just didn't give them enough screen time to really like, I don't know. I didn't feel as.
You think there were too many stories going on?
It was a lot of stories. I liked some of the other lines, but I just in comparison to the other seasons, I just didn't feel the same emotional connection to that couple as I did to the other seasons.
No.
And the passion, it just wasn't passionate.
I disagree. I just feel like her longing for him, like even finding out that the reason that she was writing at that window, like you put together that she was pining over Colin, and then like for it to like click to him, like the way it clicked. Mm-hmm. Like he was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like he was out here in these streets being community D and it just all didn't mean anything to him. Like, he was with two women at once and it still didn't mean anything until he kissed Penelope, was dreaming about her. I don't know. I liked it.
I mean, I liked him liking her. I didn't like
when the episode started and there was a dream.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry. But I mean, we all knew Penelope and Colin were getting together this season.
I didn't like that once they got married, they were not like happily together, in love together. Like, they didn't even
But he had
in
to
the same
like
bed.
But it's because she was lying to him for so long.
It was like they didn't really show that much of them. Like, they got married and it just still was kind of like,
because he was mad. Like, he was trying to come to, like, he was like, one, I'm not gonna not marry you because we already got it popping and you're a lady, right? So he was like, we gonna get married either way, but is this gonna be a happy marriage or is this gonna be a marriage of convenience? And it was like, if you keep doing this whistle down BS, I'm not here for it. Like, we just gonna be friends in this marriage. But then he got to the point where he had to, one, figure out that she is a woman to be respected, that women have their own dreams and aspirations, and get over the fact that he was jealous of her because he was trying to be a writer. So she had already become a city renowned writer, like not world renowned, but like pretty popular writer. Even though nobody knew who she was, she had done this thing that he hadn't been able to do yet. And so I think part of the reason that their marriage didn't go, like, they got married and then it was flat and he was sleeping on the couch, because he was really mad at the fact that he wished that he had the same success in writing that she did.
Yeah.
And so once he realized that he was being an a-hole about all of that and supported her in what she wanted to do, he actually helped her come up with a plan, and then it was getting it popping again.
Yeah. I think he also could have like been more part of the process of her coming out as.
He did. You mean like in the beginning?
No, it did.
He did.
At the end, she was in a circle.
He had to
by
herself.
herself.
The whole thing. You know how the marriages were back then. Like, for him to be like, my wife is whistled down and it doesn't disgrace our family. Like, that was him supporting her, because back then, you know, like, people are thinking, oh, if you're whistled down, you'll never be married. Like, you're completely disgraced your whole family. So for them to kind of switch it up and like, he helped her come up with, like, he supported her in how to move and what to say and what to do, and like being like, but you know, the Bridgerton family, this like elite family, supports her, even though we know that we know who she is. Well, he did, you know what I mean? And the way she was able to swing it and get the queen in her favor, he had to support that back then, or she would have just been, you know, out here in the street. So I don't know.
I agree to disagree, but
oh man,
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It made me. I went and rewatched at least season 2 after.
You did?
That's good.
I should rewatch season 1 because Reggie John or whatever his name is, he was fiery, honey. Okay, so what did you do?
Oh, well, I had a call. Well, I've had multiple calls with the same team for you know, well-renowned industry influencer, and this is probably the biggest prospect that I've ever had. So I had a call with my previous calls were just with like her team, but then this call, she was actually on it, and it looks like very promising and that we're going to be working together. But what it did for me is it just like, it challenged how I'm doing business, basically. There were things that she was talking about that she needed that I had never done before or never done for a client before. And it was like a new challenge. And I think that once I'm able to figure out how to like achieve it or how to execute, you know, what she needs, it's definitely going to up-level my business. So
Okay.
I am excited about the potential.
Yes, new challenges. It's always like, what I've learned from entrepreneurship is just like always uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, like usually the uncomfortable part brings
like
you
leveling
higher.
up.
Yeah. So think about like, oh, I've overcome this, I've overcome that, and now you're here. What's going to be uncomfortable here? And that, I feel like that's where I'm at now. Like
you gotta rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I grew my business. I'm somewhat happy about where it's at. I do want to grow it, but what is it going to take within me to do that? And I feel like that kind of flows into our episode.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today? Well, actually, what are we drinking today?
Yeah. We are drinking Penfolds Ben 28 Shiraz. We love this wine.
We do. We're drinking it twice in a row. It's delicious.
How much is it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know when we went to the restaurant and got it.
Well, they have a markup. Maybe
yeah,
like a $30 bottle, you think?
It's probably like between $30 and $40.
Okay. It's worth it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about go get the money, go get the money. Push it, push it, push it. Hey, push it. I don't even listen to it. It's like, people watch this and like, girl, you don't listen to that. You know you don't know that song. I don't know. Push it. Like, go get the money, go get the money. Anyway, so we talk about pricing. We're talking about how do you set your pricing for your products and services. I will say my expertise is more so in service-based businesses, but we're going to try to like swing it to pricing for products too, because I did price for products. I probably did not price well for my products, but I have an understanding of what it takes to purchase the raw materials for creating a product. So we're just going to talk about it. And so, all right, this is where we start. I think before you price anything, you need to get your money mindset together.
Yeah. And that's where I'm at. Like I was saying, this flows well because you do different things. Like as an entrepreneur, you do different things to grow yourself and, you know, have new challenges that come and you overcome them. And then you're at this level where you're feeling decent, and then there's another challenge. There's a new challenge, and
it's the next level.
Yeah, and a lot of the challenges. Let me drink this.
Take a drink, girl.
A lot of the challenges have to do with mindset.
It does, and I can even say for myself, like selling things at a certain price point, I had to wrap my mind around it because it was like, oh my God, that is so high. Like I have empathy for people who are like in a position where they may not be able to afford that. But at the same time, I have an understanding of like this expertise and the things that we're doing are valuable.
Yeah.
Like it's worth something, you know, it's worth what we're paying. Right. And in addition, we've done other metrics to see that this is what we need to charge to make sure that we're paying our bills and paying ourselves. Exactly. So we got to talk about all that today. But one, make sure that you have your money mindset, like understand your relationship with money, how you see it, because that is going to feed into like how you price yourself and how you express your value and like communicate that, because, you know, so you really got to get that mindset work in.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to work on all the time.
Are there,
consistently,
when you were like trying to get your money mindset together, were there any tools you used or any recommendations on where to go to even start doing that?
Yes. So one, I took so we have a money psychology quiz at Mitchell Consulting that we have, like, that I can share. I don't mind sharing it. But it kind of helps you to see like how you see money. Like, do you think money kind of measures your worth? Do you think you have to save? Do you think you have to spend? Like, it kind of tells you where you are. So understanding like that kind of helps you lay a foundation of how you see money. But then like understanding something that I just kind of got into was like understanding your an abundance mindset. And there was a meditation, and you know, not to like push any religion, any specific religion or anything, but like,
we're Christian here.
We're Christian, right? But this is maybe Buddhist, possibly. Like Deepak Chopra has like an abundance mindset meditation series, and there's like chanting and stuff. But like I'm Christian, so I'm just like, I think it works for anybody. It doesn't really matter what your religion is, but it's really just like the affirmation of saying, you know, I believe that I can. You know, I believe that there's abundance all around me.
Right.
I believe I have the potential to make my dreams come true. Things like that. Like, even if you don't believe in whatever the chant is, or, you know, it's really just words in a different language, really. So it's not like religious. But I think that meditation is really important. And I think that affirmations are important, and realizing that there's abundance all around you. You probably have what you need. You probably need to be more thankful and have gratitude for where you are.
Yeah.
And so like once you understand that there's enough for everybody, you don't have to feel clenched or anything. Like you can be like, this is my value. I'm okay saying that this is my value, and I'm going to find the people that are willing to pay that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to find that. And if you do the same thing I do, we're not in competition. There's room for everybody, right?
Yeah. I remember, I feel like, so when I first went full time as an entrepreneur, money mindset was like a big issue for me. And my business coach kept telling me, like, raise your prices. Like, what are your goals? Like, what do you want to make? What's going to give you a freedom lifestyle? What's going to help you, achieve millionaire status? And I'm like, oh, I need to be charging this. And she's like, is that what you're charging? No, I'm charging half that price, maybe even a third of that price. And it really was the mindset work that got me to feel more comfortable with doing it. So I definitely agree. Affirmations were really, really big for me. And you have to do it daily, honestly.
You do.
Just have to keep saying
You have to like unlearn stuff.
Yeah.
Like there are things we grew up with that are just kind of innate in us. And it's not like growing up one way or another is good or bad, but it helped to shape your mind, right? So you have to realize, like, where did I come from? I personally came from a parent who was like, we ain't got money for that. No, you can't have that. And so I'm like, oh, how much does that cost? Like, that's kind of how I think before I do anything. Like, do I want to do that? How much does it cost?
It's called a scarcity mindset.
Yeah, yes, very much so. And it's not even like, I mean, sometimes you do need to be like, what does that cost though? Like, I need to know. I can't just be swiping all frivolously, like all willy-nilly. But is that the way that we need to move in all places, especially if you have created a space for yourself where you've saved and done the work and you have it, like, just to, experience the things. Yeah. So, but that comes along with mindset and knowing where you come from so that you can do the things you need to do to get forward. So,
and just one quick thing, a lot of times, so a lot of, like you said, the way that we think about money comes from our parents, comes from the way you were raised, but the way that your parents were raised is usually very different than the way that you were raised.
Yeah.
So maybe they were in poverty or they were really experiencing things, but there were things that were going on in our country that was especially as a person of color, that was keeping their income much lower too. So we're in a new like day and age where it's like the sky's the limit. The opportunity is like as big as you make it or as small as you make it. So don't allow things that was said to you growing up to shape your view on money now, because if you have limiting beliefs about money, it's going to give you a glass ceiling on how much you can earn in your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we got that out of the way, the next thing, when you are pricing, I need you to know your numbers. And there's a couple of different numbers that I think you need to know. So the first thing is, when you're pricing, I want you to know what you need personally. So as an entrepreneur, what do you need to bring home for your business to provide adequately for your family? Know your personal numbers. So whether you're doing a budget or just going back and looking at your bank statements, budgeting is probably the best solution for this. But like, and you've helped with this a lot with me, even when I was going, because you're just so freaking good with your personal finances. And I'm not. I hate budgets, but you have to use it. You need to know how much you need to live and survive. So if I have to bring in, if I have a spouse, so I have help, but especially when you're by yourself, you need to know, like, what's my mortgage? What's my rent? How much do I spend on food? How much do I spend going out? Do I drink too much? How much do I spend on wine? That's definitely in our budget. We got a wine budget, y'all. Smart. How much do I spend on experiences?
Right.
How much do I spend on utilities? Like all those things, right? So know what you need and then set that number of like, this is what I need my business to bring home. So
I'm sure you're enjoying this episode, but we wanted to quickly pop in to let you know about the cool swag we're wearing today. AMW Apparel is a line of inspirational and entrepreneurial clothing for those looking to stand out and make a statement to their following. We provide comfortable and high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, tank tops, and more. Enter code 2mics2glasses, which is the number 2, MICS, the number 2 again, GLASSES, with no spaces, for 10% off your first order at shopwithamw.com. Link in the description. We appreciate your support.
How that relates to your business is like, okay, I have this number in my head. I'm just going to say $100,000, right? Mm-hmm. So we use profit first in here. That's our joint.
Well, okay. One step back. So
okay.
100,000, is that how much you want to keep, or is that how much you want your business to earn?
That's how much I want to bring home, keep for myself, right? So I want to earn $100,000 as an individual. That is what I need to provide for my home, my family, right? Okay. So I'm just going to use that because it's a super easy round number to do math with. So I'm going to do $100,000. Now, if you're using profit first, which we talked about in the Cream 101 episode, profit first, I personally like to take home 50% of what my business brings in. And I will say, like, that's like solopreneur. Mm-hmm. I don't have a huge team. I don't have a ton of expenses. That's a target though. I think that's like in the book, in the Profit First book, you can play around with what your target percentages are, but owner's compensation, 50%, that's what we're using here. So that means that if I divide $100,000 by 50% or times it by 2, that means my business needs to make $200,000 for me to take home $100,000. So that gives you a really good perspective on like how much you want your business to make per year. And I think like if you use that, if you're using profit first for your business overall, you can see like even further, you know, your target percentages of what you want to bring home is, you know, create what that is for yourself. And then whatever the owner comp is for that, you know, divide that percentage by your goal. So my goal is 100,000. I'm going to divide by this percentage of 50%. 100,000 divided by 50% equals 200,000. But whatever your take home target percentage divided by your target percentage is going to say like, this should be the top line of what I'm bringing into my business. Yeah. And that'll help you to say, okay, now if I break it down a little further, I do this thing, I would need to do that thing. If it's priced at this amount, I need to do it X amount of times to get to $200,000.
Right.
So if I
200, and how much do you want to price your service?
Right.
And then how many people would you have to bring in to do that? If it's like,
and is it realistic?
People, right.
Exactly.
Then prices are probably too low.
So this exercise helps you to understand like what is realistic. Am I bringing a product or service that can actually support that number? Does it make sense? Right. Because there's more that goes into pricing, but that's a really good first step to see like, where's my target? Where should I go? And how do I price from there? So if I'm trying to meet $200,000 and I'm pricing at $1,000, how many people do I have to serve to get to 200,000? Like 200, right?
Like
my math ain't her. She just like shorted out doing math.
3 zeros and then carry. I don't know. You tell me. You're the numbers.
It is right. 200,000 is 5 zeros.
Yeah.
So we do 1,000 is 3 zeros. So I have to meet 200 people. Boom, 5 zeros. Oh, so we did it.
How many clients?
I would need 200 clients at $1,000.
And that divided by 12 is.
Well, if it's a recurring service, that's different. But if it's just a one time, they're paying $1,000. But if I have somebody paying $1,000 a month, then that'd be different, right?
Yeah.
So
but if you had to bring in a new client and you just
for
have
every single one,
it's 1,000. It's almost 20 clients.
Then you might be underpricing yourself.
20 clients a month is a lot.
That's a lot of clients. Well, it just depends on what you're doing too, right? So you could have automations in your business that can serve all those clients, but sometimes, like if you're doing something like you, it's so, you know,
it's a lot of work.
Concierge service. It's a lot of work. That might not be enough time in the day for you to serve that many clients. So then you're like, okay, I'm underpricing myself, right? So you can kind of gauge using that exercise to see like, am I at the right price? Is it even realistic for me to meet my goal at where it is, right? So you do that.
So, this has been great information. So, like, how do people really figure out how much they should be charging? It's like they know that they want to charge a certain amount, but like, where do they really start with figuring that out, especially if they're saying like, I want to bring in 200K? Like, how would you suggest they figure out let's say this first time they're establishing their price?
Okay, so there's something else that you need to know. You need to really understand the cost to you to bring this product or service to your clients or customers, right? So if I have already done this a couple of times, then I am using historical data. So I can look at my books, and that's why you need to have your accounting up to date. Just saying. But then you can look at your numbers to say, I've spent X amount on this, that, and this. And you really want to look at your cost of goods sold. So there is a line item right under revenue that is cost of goods sold or cost of services, which is literally tied to the money coming in. So like, I cannot bring in this money without paying for this thing, right?
So like, let's say I want to charge $1,000, or let's say my last client, I charged $1,000 for their website, but I paid my copywriter $400 to write their web copy. What's my cost of goods sold?
That's like $400. So like something that's directly tied to the revenue, right? So the copyright's tough because you use your copywriter for multiple things, right? So you, like, even if you didn't have clients, do you use your copywriter?
Well, but let's say that's the price that I charge for every website.
Then yes, that would be the cost of your service. So that's a cost of service. Exactly. And that's your profit margin. That's the number that is. So your profit margin is going to be like, that is kind of an unavoidable cost of doing your service. So for example, for us, a cost of service could be QuickBooks maybe, right? Like if we have to pay for QuickBooks to do that service, we do your books in QuickBooks, like we have to pay for it. A lot of times we don't pay for it. But like if that was something that we took on, that'd be a cost of our service because we can't really give you our services without QuickBooks. And I don't know if that's the best example.
Well, like that QuickBooks one, is it like you guys are paying for QuickBooks?
If we were paying
subscription that covers all your clients?
Yeah.
So then would you divide that by the client?
You would kind of divide it by the client to see the cost per client. But I don't know if that's a great example, but it's kind of an example.
Yeah, whatever your expenses are. So if you have the situation like mine where it's like, I know this is how much I pay my copywriter for each website.
Or your graphic designer.
Yeah, or my graphic designer. Or let's say for you would be QuickBooks. For me, it may be somebody else. Maybe it's a web designer or something, and I give them a flat fee.
Or like something, or maybe like you have to buy the WordPress domain or something like that. Like these are the things that you have to pay for to allow your service to or product. Like for example, with my hair company, it's a lot easier with cost of goods sold. Like all the raw materials that went into making my butters or oils, like that was a cost of goods sold. I could not bring you a butter without buying mango butter, avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil. All those things are raw materials that were directly tied to bringing that in. So you need to know whatever that number is, you need to know those numbers because that's going to show you how much you're actually making. Like if it costs you nothing to bring your service to someone, that's excellent, but likely that's not the case.
Yeah. And you may be limiting yourself in what you're offering with your service because you're limiting by your personal ability and your bandwidth.
Exactly. And so once you understand how much it costs to bring your product or service to your clients and customers, then you can say, okay, my pricing needs to be a little higher because my profit margin is not high enough.
Right.
And then like profit margin is before all of your operating costs, right? So if my operating costs are just like Gmail or Google, stuff that you use to operate every day, day to day. It might be a personal assistant. It might be software. It might be your CRM tool, like all these things that you pay for as an entrepreneur are your operating costs. There are things that are like directly tied to you giving a service, but then there are things that you have to pay for no matter what.
Yeah.
It could be your internet. It could be your phone. Like These are the things you have to pay for no matter what. You need to know how much it costs you to run your business. So what I would recommend you doing, just to know these numbers, it's the very profit first, right? You need to know. But something that I love to do when you have historical data is to understand what is your hourly cost of operating your business. Like it costs me, so like you can take, let's say it's 6 months, right? It's 6 months of expenses. You can divide that by 6 to get how much it costs me monthly to operate. Divide it by, I don't know, whatever, how many days is in 6 months, and see how much it costs you daily. And then how many hours are in 6 months, and see what your hourly cost is. And if you charge hourly, you should not be charging anywhere close to the hourly cost to operate your business. Does that make sense?
What does that mean, the last part?
So if I take all my expenses for 6 months and I divide it by the number of hours within that I'm working within 6 months. So let's say I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 months, however much that hour is. It costs me this amount to operate within 6 months.
So let's say that equals like my hourly, after I do my calculations, $200 an hour.
So it costs you $200 an hour to operate your business?
No. What
Like your rate is $200 an hour?
Yeah, so let's say I brought in XYZ money, and if I divide that, whatever, by the amount of hours I worked, it equals $200 an hour.
That means that if your cost to operate is close to $200 an hour, then you're not charging enough.
Yeah.
You're not charging enough. And a lot of times when you figure out your hourly operating costs, like people realize that they are charging less than that. And you will never come out on top if your hourly cost, like if you were doing a service hourly and it's less than that, you're always gonna feel like I'm spending so much more than I'm making.
Yeah.
It's because you are.
That's good. Yeah, I never thought about like figuring out the hourly cost of my expenses. Like I've always done it the kind of the other way where it's like, oh, okay, how much do I want to make, or what is this hourly? But
there's so much that we pay for that we kind of like forget about. Like I just literally went through this exercise with a client where we went through all of her software costs, just software. There were at least, I would say 60% of the money she was paying in software, she didn't remember that she was paying for it. She wasn't using it. And some of it was like duplicated in things that she used more regularly. So we could cut a really high percentage of those costs.
yeah.
And that would really decrease her operating hourly cost to her, which would, automatically increase your profitability.
Yeah.
And that's free game.
Yeah.
You might be paying for things that you're using, like, and it does the same thing as something else because we have shiny penny syndrome.
Or there's just like a cheaper way to do the same thing. That happened to me recently. I had a subscription to Samcart, which was what I was using for sales pages and for my courses. And I was like, they kept raising the price. So I think I was like at a point where I was paying at least $120 a month. It might have been all the way up to like $150, which, I think it was $159 a month actually. And so, when that hits, you're like, especially when things were getting low. And so I had started implementing course platforms for my clients on WordPress. So after I had done like a few of them, I'm like, I know how to create the same course framework using WordPress. And the WordPress plugin started at $179.50 for the year.
Whole year?
For the year. So I did it with help with my virtual assistant. We moved all my courses to that plugin. It's called MemberPress, if you're interested.
MemberPress.
And I paid the $179.50 for the year, and I canceled the Samcart, and I don't miss anything about it. It literally, there's nothing that I was
so much
like,
money.
Yeah, there was nothing that I'm like was getting from there that I'm like couldn't do now. Because the landing page, sales pages, I just create them on WordPress. I just create them myself.
Right.
Buy the domain, create a page. Like, I know how to make a website.
You know how to, if you can.
Right. And then I was able to connect the payment buttons to MemberPress for my courses. So,
and then you save a butt ton of money. And now you're bringing in, like, you're keeping more of the money that you're bringing in.
Right.
So like these are the things that you need to know and understand as you are pricing out your products or services.
Yeah.
Your cost of goods sold, how much does it cost you to actually bring that product or service to your customers and clients, and then your operating costs. If you don't have any historical data, do market research, and we'll get into market research.
Have historical data.
Yeah, it is good to do market research to just realize, like, am I overpaying for things? That's what you did with the member press. Is you're like, okay, I'm paying this much for this. Let me do some research and see if I can pay less with something else that, you know, it might take some time to migrate from one system to another system.
Yeah.
But how much is it worth it? Like, it's so worth it with how much you're saving per month. Like, that's a huge savings. So,
the market research part, I think, also is really helpful for figuring out what your competitors are charging.
Pricing, yeah.
And when you think of your competitors, don't think of like the little small people that are doing it on the side. You know, and maybe you're doing that too. Like it's your side hustle and you're not charging much. Don't price them. Price like the established companies that are doing it.
Because that's what people are going to see.
Yeah.
Like, why should I go with you over this corporation that...
Well, the corporation, however they're pricing their stuff, is priced so that it can finance their company. The people who are doing it on the side, if they're not pricing it where the and when we say corporations, small businesses, people like you and me, you know, just people that are like, it's an established company. They're pricing it so that it can sustain the business. So one quick trick that I did for market research early in establishing, like, what are my prices that's going to keep a roof over my head and food on my table, is I made a Google sheet of like 10 to 20 businesses that were similar to mine, and I just found them. I looked for businesses that were in the same city or around the same area that I lived in. I wrote their company name. I wrote their the services that they had that were similar to mine. I only used businesses that had services similar to mine or what I wanted to have similar. So maybe I wasn't offering it yet, but they were. So I was like, let me offer that so I can compete. And then if it was on their website, I wrote down the pricing for it. If it wasn't, I created a fake persona. I blocked my number on my phone, and I created a fake email.
And you reached out?
Yeah, my name was Crystal. Yes.
Not Crystal.
It was just a fake name, fake email. The email was like Crystal 102 or so.
This Crystal though.
Random.
Crystal doesn't know.
I don't know. No. Different selling too.
But, good.
But yeah, I reached out to them and I left messages, or sometimes I got them on the phone. I had a fake persona, fake business. I said, I was acting like a customer, prospective customer. This is what I'm looking for. How much? And so they would tell me the price. I wrote it in my spreadsheet, the end. And so I was able to kind of get like a aggregate of about 20 businesses service pricing that was like the same services I was offering. And when I first started, I just kind of chose a median price. Eventually I kind of fluctuated from there, but it's a good place to start.
Yeah. And like the market research is so important because you don't want to price yourself out of the market that you're in, especially if you have a similar ideal persona of the people that you're researching.
Right.
You don't want to price yourself out of that market, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're priced competitively and priced that in a way that will support your business and support your individual needs as the owner.
Yeah.
That will pay your people and all that good stuff. So, I mean,
what are we choosing to? This is, very, very good information. Yay. Take this. The biggest thing is money mindset. Start there.
Start with your money mindset. Start with your money mindset. Know what you want. Know what you're spending. Know what other people are charging.
And price yourself as an established business, not as like a small.
Not as a startup. Don't let you being a startup be a barrier to you asking for what you're actually worth. And that comes down to value. So one, let's go to knowing your worth.
Yes, I love it.
Know your worth. It's like dating, okay? We messing around with these people in the streets. You got to know your worth or you will underprice yourself. Don't undervalue
lots
yourself.
Of experiences.
So cheers to knowing your worth. Cheers.